What is up, IDP Army? It's your man, Jordan Rains, and you already know we are back again. Week 5 is mostly in the books. We are looking forward to week 6. I'm going to break down my top waiver wire targets for IDP fantasy football for week 6 for you guys. We're going to go through some of the main takeaways from week 5, as well as maybe look at the leaderboard a little bit and look at some players that have been surprising us. And some guys maybe if we're wondering if they can keep it up and who are we going to panic on. So got a few good topics to go over today. And like I said, of course, we're always going to hit the waiver wires. So let's get this show rocking and rolling, y'all.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
All right, as always, be sure to go like and subscribe to the channel. Thumbs up this video. We'd super appreciate that. Does a lot for the channel. Leave us a comment. Tell me who your biggest surprise was this week. Either somebody let you down, maybe somebody that kind of blew up, or maybe somebody that's like flying under the radar. Leave me that in the comments. I'd be interested to see who that would be. And sometime this week, guys, join me in Underdog and do some drafts with me. So click on the link below. I've been doing drafts on Underdog, win a little money, losing a little money, playing the pick'ems, etc. It's a really good platform for season long and for weekly fantasy for the drafting format. The tournaments on there are super fun. So hop on there. Those are a really good time. You'll probably see me in there at some point in the week. Make sure you check out the new show, The Underdogs. That's with me and Dave Kluge. We'll be streaming that on Wednesday evenings. I think we're doing that at like 8 Central Time. That would be 9 Eastern. If you want to check that out live, we're doing a head-to-head draft on there, as well as talk about some of our favorite Underdog plays of the week. So like I said, click that link, get in on Underdog. We have a good time over there. And make sure you check out the playlist for that as well, because that's on this channel. And I'm going to put in the comments below, or I'll try to pin it or something, the podcast feed as well. So if you don't want to like watch the drafts, you can still listen to them, because that's not going to be on the IDP Army feed. We have started a new feed for that as well. So all right, let's talk about this last week of IDP fantasy football. Some of the first things we need to talk about is some injuries. Levante David is the primary one, the big injury. Looks like he's going to miss some significant time. Went down with an ankle injury. I'm not really sure who you're going to be picking up for him, but what I'm hoping this means is that Devin White gets his butt in gear, because his year has been slow start compared to what we had or came to expect towards the end of last year, when everything was falling his way. The tackles, the big plays were all there, as well as the sacks, the multi-sack games too, which really are what we remember about him. To date this year, still no sacks. So that kind of hurts you, but the tackle floor is still intact. He hasn't really been hurting your team, unless you drafted him, generally speaking, in an area where you call like the RB dead zone or something like that. So I mean, you're still getting back end linebacker 2 production from him, and by the end of the season I think it's going to round out. But circling back to Levante David, I'm not really sure who's going to be replacing him right now. I would need to double check that. I'm not sure if I'm overly interested in him, but Levante David managers, just hang in there, hang tight, don't go dropping him, because he's still a great linebacker. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the bigger weeks that we had as well. Harold Landry coming in this week, having essentially the number 1 defensive line week, 6 solo tackles, 2 for a loss, 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. Talked him up on the live stream before the show. Been talking him up really on this show and on this channel for 2 years now. Massively underrated in IDP, massively underrated in real life. I've seen that his PFF grade has finally kind of elevated itself to match his box score. So people are kind of coming around on him. He is, in fact, has the second most pressures in the league right now, behind only Max Crosby, has 1 more pressure than Myles Garrett. So he's really putting up the numbers that you want to see. The auxiliary stats are there, and he's coming home for you. So I had a massive week, 32 points, IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring. Hassan Reddick, similar weeks, almost identical stat line here, a little different. 6 solos, 2 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. He's been having a great season. It's kind of wild that so many IDP people wanted to fade him last year. I was not one of them. I said, you can go check my Twitter, back all the way in December, November last year. I was like, yo, like this breakout that we're seeing happen right now is for real. He's going to be great going forward. He's still very young. I think this is what number of sacks was this for him on the season? He has now 7. Miles Garrett has, I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm looking at this wrong. He has 4.5 sacks on the season. That's good for top 12 on the year. 10 total tackles, only 3 tackles for loss, but like I said, he's really rounding out as a good player. The pressures are there. I wouldn't be surprised to see him finish in the top 5 at sacks on the season. Not up there right now, but like I said, he has more pressures than Miles Garrett. Miles Garrett is the sack leader currently with 7. Moving on to Matt Judon. He was kind of a cheap, easy to get asset. He was linebacker eligible only until Sleeper did make the designation change. But as a defensive line player, as he should be, and if you play on Sleeper, he is having a great season for the Patriots. He has the second most sacks in the league, 6.5. Like I said, behind only Miles Garrett. I'm sorry, guys. I was reading. I gotta back up because that was driving me nuts. Hassan Reddick. For some reason, I was looking at Harold Landry's number still. Hassan Reddick has 6.5 sacks on the season. That was why I was so confused. Which is only half a sack less than Miles Garrett, same as Matt Judon. Buy into the breakout. Hopefully you did, and you have Hassan Reddick. If you can go trade for Hassan Reddick, do it. He and Harold Landry still don't have like the name value that like a Brian Burns or even a Chase Young has. But these guys have not just are producing, but have been producing on the level of those players. Easier to get. And if you want to shuffle some things around on your team, maybe upgrade another spot, these are guys you should be targeting. Matt Judon, another example, a little bit older, but also having a great year, 6.5 sacks. His production is consistent across the whole profile. He has tackles for loss to go with that. He has 20 combined tackles total. So good season going on there. Aaron Donald came in this week for a good one. He had a sack. He had 3 quarterback hits, a pass defended, 2 tackles for loss, 5 solos. He's been having a really good year in the tackle department. So has Miles Garrett, which has kind of been one of the things that has held them back, I feel like, from truly realizing their upside. I know Aaron Donald did have that really, really great year 2 or 3 years ago, but without the high floor of 60 plus, 65 plus tackles, they really can't. They don't do as much for your team as some of these other guys, like Danielle Hunter, for instance, or Harold Landry, for instance, who have a higher floor. Right now, Aaron Donald through 5 games has 24 tackles, and through 5 games, Miles Garrett has 21. So that means they're both essentially pacing for a career year in tackles, and they are putting up the usual kind of big numbers you expect from them as far as tackles for loss. Aaron Donald currently sitting with 5. Pacing for another great year there. Definitely going to hit double digits there. Miles Garrett, 8. Might have double digits this time next week. So, moving on, Gregory Rousseau. This is an awesome one. Okay, rookie Bills pass rusher. Coming into last year, he was kind of the early lead for the best rookie. The next Chase Young, and then when the draft process rolled around, all eyes were on Jalen Phillips, who was also played for the U. Gregory Rousseau, I don't remember exactly if it was injuries or what, but he just kind of fell off a little bit in the conversation. Well, he has not fallen off. He has kind of asserted himself as a completely dominant force. He was on the waiver wire video last week. He's actually on the thumbnail, I think, 2 weeks ago. So he's been coming up, but he finishes this week with 27 points, had a knocked down a pass for his own interception, also had a sack, 4 solo tackles. I mean, he is just blowing up plays left and right. He's getting tons of snaps. Yeah, the Bills use a rotation at pass rusher, but he is the lead dog essentially in this rotation. He's the young dog. He's the lead dog. He's doing what you want. There's not really much else to say, but if you don't have him on your roster and he is available still by some chance on waivers, go get him. In Dynasty, you need to look at trading for him, making moves. This is a good time of year to do that because people are going to want to shake up their teams. If somebody's looking to cash in or somebody has him sitting maybe on their taxi squad and don't even realize it, this is a time to make a play. Some of the other big defensive line weeks, Trey Hendrickson finally showed up, had 2 sacks, 25 points. Khalil Mack had a good week. Yannick finally showed up, had a 2-sack week. Nick Bosa had a sack again. Nick Bosa's having a great season, kind of flying under the radar right now. I'm not really sure why, but he's having a phenomenal season. Clavon Chason showed up. It doesn't really do anything for me. Doesn't really mean anything. I don't think for you either. I mean, if you're in a deeper league, sure. If he's out there on your waivers, pick him up. But I don't know if I'm buying into this necessarily. But primary thing here to see was it was good to see Trey Hendrickson get home for a couple of sacks, have a big game. It was good to see Yannick get home for sacks because he's been so close past couple of weeks. Everson Griffin did have a pretty good game too. Had played 49 defensive snaps. If he's going to be playing opposite Daniel Honor, maybe we're running back 2018 or 2017, whatever that last big year he was. So let's go ahead and see what other notes I have here for you all. All right, moving on to some linebackers. Alex Singleton came through with a big week, 24 points. Nothing special, but 9 solos, 4 assists, a special team solo. Big week for him. He ended up out snapping Eric Wilson this week by a pretty good margin. So maybe it's wheels up for Alex Singleton going forward as your number one guy for the Eagles. Probably is. But that doesn't mean leave Singleton or Wilson for dead either. Like, don't go make any crazy moves. Devondre Campbell, this was a really good week for him. Interception, 5 tackles, pass defended. The thing is, Jalen Smith just got traded to, they're not traded, but picked up by the Packers. So he's probably going to take over this primary role here. I'm just kind of bringing him up to say, thanks for the memories, kind of. I think Jalen Smith is going to be the guy getting this kind of work, coming up with these 24, 25-point games going forward for the Packers. Again, I'm not saying I don't think Devondre Campbell's a cut candidate yet, but he had another good week. I know a lot of guys in my league. I mean, everybody plays him at this point. Hopefully, you realize what do you have if you have him on a roster. Demario Davis, I had him ranked really high this week, because I knew he was going to get home. I knew he was going to get home for a sack this week. I just had a feeling he was kind of due for it. He got his sack this week, 3 quarterback hits, which means he was busy. He was trying to get more than just that one sack. A tackle for a loss, 5 solos. He could have had a bigger day probably, but it's good to see him get home for that sack. I think he's kind of been left for dead or kind of forgotten as a slow start to the year, but quietly putting up some really good games back to back here. I'm so glad that he had a kind of a boom game. I could bring him up. Some of the other linebackers I wanted to bring up, David Long, Jayon Brown. I got a lot of questions about him. He's kind of being phased out of the defense / hurt all the time. Pour one out for him. David Long's playing really well in his stead. 71 defensive snaps, 12 tackles, as you can see there, 24 points. Jerome Baker, he's played a lot of snaps and has not had a lot of tackles. He had a good week this week. I think he's got a little bit of positive regression coming his way points wise. So stick it out with Jerome Baker or go get him if you think somebody's trying to get rid of him. Denzel Perryman, kind of a big surprise on the year, but he currently leads the league in combined tackles. Kind of blows my mind with 60. Not a lot going on in the impact play department. 1 fumble recovery, 1 tackle for loss. But if you play in, a very tackle heavy skewed league, he's crushing right now. And his solo to assist ratio is basically 2-1. So, I mean, he's crushing. So good on you. If he's on your waiver wire, he shouldn't be. Go get him. Eric Kendricks, 3rd in the league in total tackles right now, 55. People said he's too efficient. People said he can't do it again. He's doing it again. Got an interception on the year, got a pass deflection, got a sack, got 3 tackles for a loss. I mean, just put some respect on Eric Kendricks' name at this point. Pete Werner, he's going to come up in just a second on the waiver wire graphic that I have, but it was a good week for him. He's quietly been playing a lot more than I kind of realized for New Orleans. This last week came up with a big game, 13 total tackles, 21 points. I believe he played 99% of total snaps. So that's a rock solid number. It's kind of wheels up with those kind of numbers. You kind of have to work a guy like that into your lineup. Kevin Byard kind of has a big game every year, 2 big games sometimes. Had his big game this year, had a touchdown, a fumble recovery, had an interception, 2 passes defended, and 8 solos. 8 solos is a pretty big number for any safety. So to get that and then do all that other stuff on top of it, he ended the week as the number 1 defensive back big week for him if you played him. I know I had a few questions about him in the live stream yesterday morning, which we do every Sunday at 11. Check that out. Click the bell. Subscribe to the channel. You guys can check those out. I don't remember if I said play him or don't play him, but I had him ranked kind of low this last week, a lot lower than number one defensive back. I'll tell you that. But kudos to him if you played him, which I know people did. I don't have him in any leagues, but I know a lot of people did. You got a big week out of him, so you're feeling good about that. Another big defensive back week that nobody was asking if they should start was Derwin James. Had a massive game. Okay, this is not a typical game. It's 17 tackles. Okay, um, that's like wild numbers. Especially for a defensive back. But 9 of them solo, 8 assists, 1 tackle for loss, 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit, 1 forced fumble. Ends the day with 38 points, 1 behind Kevin Byard. Had a massive game. He now, I think, sits as the number 2 defensive back on the year. Has been floating around that 15, 16 point mark for points per game so far this year. Has this big pop here. That's good. So yeah, number 2 defensive back on the year. I still believe Trevon Diggs has got him beat by a couple of points, probably like 30 or 40. Trevon Diggs, speaking of which, at this point, it's just crazy, but he was one of my big sleepers coming into the year at the defensive back position. Currently has 6 interceptions through 5 games. This dude's wild. I mean, defensive player of the year, probably looking at that. I mean, he has 6 interceptions. I mean, it's just crazy. And he could have had like 2 more yesterday. He had his hands on a couple. Great year for Trevon Diggs. Just got to give him a little love. If you have him, you played him, you've been playing him, you love it. The regression's coming, every blah, blah, blah. Just enjoy it. It's a beautiful thing. But anyway, moving on. Here are some other big games for the defensive back position. Some CBs here that you're kind of not really usually seeing, but Teron Johnson coming in with a big game. He was another big sleeper coming into the year. Von Bell has been having a really good year this year, getting all the tackles you want, also making some impact plays here and there. Tracy Walker came through with a decent game for you this week, playing a lot more free safety, a lot less in the box, but still one of the better players in the league. I think he's like the highest graded safety right now on PFF, or like the second highest graded safety on PFF. Quincy Williams, who does have the defensive back linebacker tag on Sleeper, had a big game. I believe it was like 8 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, so he's making big plays. Budda Baker had an interception yesterday. Not something normally in his wheelhouse, but he's getting a little bit more hands on the ball lately. So big game from Budda Baker, as many of you probably expected, and as we've come to expect. Just wanted to bring up Trevon Diggs was just outside the top 15 at 16 this week with the 20 points. Micah Hyde had a pick six last night. I'm a man. Patrick Mahomes. Man, they look beat up talking in that last night in the press conference, didn't they? I mean, golly, he looked beat up, and they were tearing him apart this morning on the talk shows and all that good stuff. So, Chiefs, we got to get this defense sorted out, my guys. I got a few questions here in the chat, but I also have some notes I wanted to bring up, and I still got to get to the waiver stuff. So I'll do that. I'll circle back around to the questions if you hang out here with me. I'll try and get them all answered. But so let's talk about the big waiver guys this week. Quincy Williams obviously is number 1. He was number 1 last week. If he's still available, go get him. Jermaine Carter coming in to replace Shaq Thompson. Shaq Thompson is out with the ankle, knee. I'm not exactly sure, but leg injury. Jermaine Carter played, I believe, 100% of snaps this week. So that's what you want to see. He's going to be your immediate backup for him. I quickly wanted to bring up Robert Quinn. He's having a great season right now. 4.5 sacks right now through the first 5 games, 15 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 6 quarterback hits. His snap shares week 1 through 5 has been 63%, 69%, 78, 75, and 72%. And this is really significant because last season he only went over 60% 4 times. So he's already been over that 5 times, and he's been over 70% and right on the edge of that 4 times. So he's a lot healthier, and that's being reflected in the numbers that he's putting up. Again, not like a massive super season right now, but I mean, 15 tackles, that's totally serviceable. That's around 3 a game right now. 4.5 sacks, and the sacks are good sacks. The pressures are there to back them up. 3 tackles for loss. That's not a bad start to the season either. So if Robert Quinn is on your waivers still for some reason, please go get him. He's looking like he's going to have the season I really wanted him to have last year for people. But he doesn't need to be on waivers. I picked him up the last couple of weeks on a couple of MFL leagues that he's just linebacker eligible. People often turn their noses up to guys like that. Just pick him up, play him. If they're going to score, they're going to score. So Pete Werner brought him up earlier, but he had a really good game for New Orleans. You're going to want to go check your waiver wire for him. Gerard Davis and Ashton Davis, both New York Jets. These guys are coming in to replace McDougald, and then Marcus May has been out. They didn't really do anything spectacular this week. Didn't even play 100% of the snaps, either of them, but keep an eye on them because we are coming into the bye week part of the year. Speaking of which, don't even prioritize them because they're going to be on bye this week. Wanted to bring them up. Maybe you can get a week ahead of some people that are not paying attention, but your buys this week are your 49ers, your Falcons, your Saints, and your Jets. So if you are Demario Davis manager, if you are a Pete Werner, targeter, any of these Jets players, Quincy, if he's still out there, maybe if somebody drops Quincy because of the bye week, keep an eye out for that. That's going to be a big come up for your team. We do have the Falcons, not a lot of fantasy relevance there, but Olakun, Deion Jones, they will be out for you this week for the Falcons. Grady Jarrett in your DT specific leagues. 49ers, Fred Warner, obviously Nick Bosa, who has been killing it this year. Like I said, low key hasn't been getting a lot of attention. Now we go on the bye week, so he's going to keep sliding under the radar. Maybe go make some plays for Nick Bosa, but he will be on the bye week this week, along with Fred Warner, along with Al Shazier, the waiver wire darling from the first couple of weeks of the season for the 49ers. We'll have to keep tabs on Dre Greenlaw. He should be coming off IR soon. So yeah, there's your buys for the week. This is a time when you're going to want to, this is when you got to be nimble in your leagues because, you have to decide who's worth keeping, who's worth dropping, et cetera, et cetera. Who's going to keep an eye out for who's going to be dropped, who's coming off of IR. So don't get complacent. Don't get down on yourself even if you are, 1-3 or 0-4, like, or 0-5. Fight, okay? Fight, IDP Army. We want to win, okay? And there's nobody loves anything more than an underdog and a come up, okay? And if you dug yourself in a hole, that means you got nothing but upside, baby. So let's go get it. Other players that are not on this list, I really quickly before I finish this list, Troy Reader had a good game. He and Kenny Young have been oscillating as far as production. It's scary, but if you have to play like a linebacker 3-4 flex, you want to get one of these Rams linebackers in your lineup. So don't be too shy away from that. Alex Anzalone, I have a note here. He has been playing 100% of the snaps for Detroit. Yes, we want Derek Barnes to be a thing. Yes, he's going to be a thing in Dynasty. Eventually, he's going to break out. Eventually, he's probably going to get all the snaps. Right now, this coaching staff with Dan Campbell and all these guys, they love Alex Anzalone. They were just gushing about him on the the show yesterday. If you watched any of that game, they were talking about how the defensive coordinators love him. He's playing faster than they've ever seen him play before. He's doing things that they didn't see him do because they brought him in. So how they trust him to be the leader of this defense. So all that lets me tell you is that Derek Barnes is not is punching above his weight if he thinks he's going to take this job from Alex Anzalone. So he shouldn't be on your waivers. He's having a fine season. I think he has just as many points right now as Devin White. So go check your waivers for him. All right, let's finish off this list here. Sean Chandler has been playing the primary strong safety role for the Carolina Panthers. So go check your waivers for him. If he's out there, you want to get him right now. Tay Crowder did kind of take over that role for Blake Martinez. I brought him up last week. Again, check for him. This is a fun one. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, JOK, if you are watching on YouTube on the graphic, linebacker from Cleveland. They drafted him, I believe, in the second round. He fell for some nebulous health reasons or something like that, but he seems to be fine. He's playing very well. He's not just playing well. I mean, he's playing fantastic, lights out of his mind. So he just got over 90% of the snaps this week. He's been playing around 50% or a little less most of the season. Got over 90 this week, which is great. That means the staff seems to be trusting him. They seem to be embracing what he can bring to the table. And this is what he's brought to the table so far. On the season, he's played 169 snaps, which is good for just around 50% of the Browns' overall defensive snaps. Okay. In those snaps, he's put up 21 tackles, totally respectable, 6 impact plays. That's an incredible number for only less than 170 snaps. 1 tackle for a loss, 3 pass deflections, a forced fumble, and half a sack. So if this guy's been this kind of productive on sub 200 snaps, and again, you can't just extrapolate this out, but he's lightning in a bottle. He's kind of got that trajectory that we saw from Logan Wilson last year, where yeah, he wasn't necessarily getting a lot of play, but when he was on the field, you wanted him in your lineup. And as he gets more snaps, he's going to do better. Logan Wilson right now, linebacker 3 on the season, in total points in IDP 1, 2, 3. We saw the breakout coming, and it happened. Check out the sleeper video series I did right before the season hit. If you drafted a lot of those guys, you're doing very well right now. But Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, he's a guy you probably want to target. He and Quincy Williams and Robert Quinn, of the people I've mentioned so far, those are going to be your primary players you're going to target this week on the waivers if they're available. Other players here we have from the Chargers, linebackers Kazir White and Drew Tranquil. Both played over 75% of the snaps this week. Kenneth Murray continues to miss time with ankle injury. And I wouldn't expect him to come back, really. I mean, I would just put him out of your mind. Get White, get Tranquil, and just kind of gear up for that's going to be how your season goes. And then finally here, shout out to Malone from the live stream on Sunday. Malone's been rocking with the channel for 3 years. We love Malone. He brought him up to us. Osa Odigizua. Okay, this is a defensive tackle / defensive lineman for Dallas. He has been popping off the screen. If you've been watching him, watching Dallas play, getting some sacks, getting a lot of pressure, kind of just what this team needs. So if you're in a D tackle specific league, or if you're in a really deep DL league, you're starting 4 DLs, even if you're in just a 12-man league, you want to check this guy out. Played over 60% of snaps, which is a rock solid number for any defensive lineman. If you can get up that 60-65%, you're basically becoming a startable weekly asset. Less so for the defensive tackle spot, but again, he's been popping, so we're talking about him now. So for your edge guys, though, kind of circling back around to Robert Quinn, I mean, he's playing 70+% of outside, edge snaps. I mean, that's of the defensive snaps. That's a really high number for any defensive lineman, and you're gonna get production on those kind of snaps. And again, it's indicative of health, something he did not have last season. So. All right, so I got some questions here. Whoa, no, click. Got some questions here in the chat. I'm going to take a peek at these, see if I can answer some of these for you all. Do me a favor, thumbs up this video, please. If you were watching it, I see you. There's quite a few of you today. I don't know what you're doing here on a Monday, but shout out to the Monday crew. Hopefully you guys get your Monday miracle tonight in fantasy football. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the Underdogs, which is coming out later this week with me and my man Dave Kluge. Go subscribe to our new podcast feed for that. But okay, so what we got here? Question on Zach Cunningham. I want to ask you about him every week, but what are your thoughts on Zach Cunningham? I've been benching Jordan Brooks. Would you consider starting him over Cunningham? Okay, at this point in the season, 100% absolutely yes. You want to be starting Jordan Brooks over Cunningham. I think Jordan Brooks is like the number 5 overall linebacker on the season, number 6. I mean, he's not just doing well. He's doing fantastic right now on the season. Let me look, because I can vet this stuff on old sleeper here. So linebackers on the season. Yeah, Jordan Brooks is currently the linebacker 5. So you should definitely be playing him over Zach Cunningham. We need to start changing the narrative or our thought processes on Zach Cunningham. At this point, Zach Cunningham, in my mind, is just he's a back. He's going to be a linebacker 2 at best, probably going forward. Only played 50% of the snaps this week. That is not going to get it done. He's got the money. He's got the contract. He's not getting the play time. It's been various different reasons the last couple of weeks. I don't know what they are. I can't explain them, but we have to adapt. So Do I trade Zach Moss for Damian Harris? No, you keep Zach Moss. 100% keeping Zach. Oh, put my chair up. Keeping Zach Moss in that situation. Damian Harris, no. I mean, you're trying to sell Damian Harris if you can right now. Or Moss for Javonte Williams. That's a little bit closer. I'm still partial to. I don't know. Actually, that's really tough, man. Moss or Javonte Williams. Everybody watching right now, leave in the comments. What do you guys think this guy should do? I don't know. That's a little tough for me. Or just keep Moss. I don't know. I would probably keep Moss personally, just because Melvin Gordon, he really didn't get a lot of run. I mean, he's not going away. So, okay, I'm running Zach Cunningham, Tay Crowder, Anthony Walker, and Logan Wilson. Good. Sounds like a good setup there. Should I be dropping Chin, or is he going to be relevant again? I think you keep playing Jeremy Chin. He's getting the snaps. He's getting the snaps you want. He's playing enough in the box to, kind of warrant being in that discussion if you want to have that discussion about a safety. But we've still seen him be a dynamic playmaker before. There's some variance there that I think should fall back his way. He's got deep, disruptive guys around him. I mean, they have one of the best pass rushes in the league. Derek Brown up the middle is doing good. Reddick and Brian Burns are both objectively good. They're trading for corners. They just added Gilmore. I mean, there's the upside is there. I'm not dropping Jeremy Chin yet. That's my long-winded answer on that. Would it be smart to trade Josh Allen and Swift for Herbert and Mike Williams? Would it be smart? I don't know. That's coming in from YouTube here. That's tough, man. I mean, Josh Allen, you saw what Josh Allen brings to the table, and you saw what Herbert brings to the table. The upside here is you get the Mike Williams Herbert stack, which is looking lethal. The downside is you have to get rid of Josh Allen. So if you got the balls to do that, I guess go for it. I like Josh Allen. I'm not a huge fan of Swift. If it was me, I would just try to trade Swift for Mike Williams. What's going on with Devin Bush and Kenny Young? All right, so Devin Bush was doing good yesterday. He had a sack, and then he got injured. So I guess the short and long answer for Devin Bush right now is he's hurt. He got pulled out of the game. He did not come back in, which brings up another good point. I should have brought up Robert Spillane, probably a great waiver wire pickup this week. Did not bring him up or put him in the graphic, but Robert Spillane, if Devin Bush is going to miss this time or miss some time, he's going to be a great play. He has been in the past. He always seems to be. So 4-1 elbow cough. Thoughts on Trey Flowers? I mean, he had a good game. I saw the sack he had yesterday. I mean, it was an extremely athletic play. I wish he looked like that all the time. That's kind of what I would say about that. They seem to be playing with some fire, some gusto, but with guys falling apart around him, and this team kind of just struggling right now to find its identity. I wonder how long he will play with that kind of tenacity this season. Chances of Lat Murray getting 32. My guy, Lat Murray getting 32, pretty small. If you're in a PPR league, well, it doesn't really mean anything. Very tiny, obscenely small. I'm sorry. Moss got the work this week. Yeah, he did. He was getting the receptions. Looks good. He's on a high-powered offense. He's everything you want in a running back 3 or a flex running back, which is what you drafted him to be probably. So he's perfect. Okay, I don't try to flip him for a come up. Just enjoy what you have. You know what I mean? Just enjoy it. It's a beautiful thing. Plug him, play him, sit back, relax. All right, Corey Wright out here on YouTube says we start 4 linebackers. Have been starting Devin White, Eric Kendricks, Patrick Queen, Zach Cunningham. Brooks was my 5th. Going forward, I'll swap Brooks unless something changes. Yeah, I would definitely be putting in Brooks over Queen and or Cunningham. Patrick Queen, low-key, not having an incredible year, but he also has to play tonight, so that could all change. He could throw up a 40-piece and be a top 10 linebacker. All right. Coming in from YouTube, I have Juju in fantasy, and he is on IR all season. What wide receiver should I pick up? I mean, who's available? That's obviously numero uno question. you have any guys that you're looking at right now, you can hit me and tell me that. I'll try to answer my best. Yeah, joking was wishful thinking. Yeah. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Check out the Underdogs show. We're going to be doing that head-to-head draft. Me and Dave Kluge. Get in on Underdog. Draft with me on Underdog. Click the link down in the description. Having fun doing that all week long. Those $3 drafts. Drinking a beer, watching Netflix after the kids go to bed. Life is good. Go get Kadarius Toney. Boom. There you go. That's the play. If Kadarius Toney's on your waiver wire, go get him. Man, he looked good yesterday. Looked like lightning in a bottle. I mean, some guys, he just has, and I'm gonna throwing that punch at the end. Kind of stupid, but at the same time, it's just like he was feeling himself like that. He was like, I don't give a fuck. And I was just like, I'm with that. Like, you shouldn't give a fuck. You went out there and you balled and you let him know about it. So, kudos to him. I think I need to double check, but I'm pretty sure I have him on one of my Best Ball Mania 2 teams, and I stacked him with Daniel Jones. I think I gotta double check that. Go draft with me on Underdog. You guys can do stuff like that too. Also, Peyton Turner had a massive week a couple weeks ago and 0 since. Any chance of info on his situation? I haven't really seen a lot. Honestly, I haven't been super deep diving into some of these more auxiliary players. I've been trying to, weed out whose trajectory is going up and who's kind of going down as we get into the meat of the season. That's why I'm kind of hammering home some of these guys on the waiver show that I've maybe brought up once or twice before. I really think it's imperative that they're still out there, or even people are thinking, oh, I can pick them up and flip them and whatever, that you take advantage of this, because, sometimes we're in a new season now and we have enough data points and we have enough, positive and negative, to see kind of where things are trending, or at least have enough to confidently put our chips down where we think they're going to go. So some of these guys and gals, I really am pushing people to get off of, like go check out the Chase Young video from last week. I know he had a sack this week. I'm trying to get off of Chase Young. I'm trying to look to get on some other guys, Robert Quinn, if I can, just flip Chase Young, kind of solidify my tight end spot or just another linebacker spot. If I can solidify any part of my team with a player like that, that's kind of iffy, that's what I'm doing. So Giants have no QB right now. Yeah, I know. Glennon didn't look too bad. He's throwing the ball. Tony was getting it done. Daniel Jones was getting it done before he got hurt. So Giants are struggling, but they look better than I think people want to admit, kind of. They're tenacious. I'll give them that. It's a long season and it beats Juju on IR. Yeah, Tony for sure beats Juju on IR. Juju on IR sucks, but Deontay Johnson wheels up, Claypool wheels up. They're the future. I was literally, just before I came on recording, I was thinking about Juju, and I'm like, man, like 2-3 years ago, he was the best wide receiver in the league, some people thought. And now you're going to be forgotten. Like, literally, like, I hate to be like that, but like, you're just going to be forgotten. And then we'll talk about you next summer, and it'll be like, man, what if, and shoulda, woulda, coulda, this, and da 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 that. And so, like, you were like so far up here and like all of it, stats, recognition, hype, etc., etc. And now the Steelers are in trouble. You're hurt, so you're not even going to be part of anything that happens, the resurrection or the destruction. And you got some beast mode dudes out here getting stuff done, and Claypool and Najee Harris and Deontay Johnson. They're not even going to miss you. And Pat Freiermuth out here studding up. So I hate to say that as a Steelers fan, but it sucks. Like, Juju's in a bad spot. Like, he needs to get a life coach or something, somebody to help him make better decisions. So, but whatever. He'll figure it out. He's fine. Chiefs will still want him. Corey Rideout says, we start 11 IDPs and play on Yahoo. Guys like Reddick, Von Miller, TJ, Watt, Landry, all linebacker. I'm only finding diamond in a rough DL is important. Yeah, it can be, especially if you're playing in a limited, on a platform that limits your player pool like that. I was looking on Sleeper, if you take out the guys who are DL and linebacker eligible, your defensive line spot really drops off fast. You have like 6 guys that were good this week, and then it was like a lot of dud games, like dud games. When you mix in the defensive line with your linebackers, which is what you should be doing, in my opinion, especially if you're starting out playing IDP, or want to really enjoy IDP, you get a lot deeper pools for defensive line players. You get more interesting ways to build your teams and starting rosters because you have dual eligibility. It really just it makes the game more fun. It gives you more options. I think a lot of people want to pigeonhole you into this position, this many people. Give people some more flexibility. Have fun and let the leagues kind of evolve into what they will be. But yeah, finding diamond in the rough guys is important. Yeah, I mean, go check for guys coming off of injuries too. Go check for what's his say. So I said Osa Odigizua from Dallas. So guys, gals, I'm gonna wrap this up pretty quick here. I have one more question: Sammy Watts, Randall Cobb, or Josh Gordon? Give me Sammy Watkins. I mean, actually no, screw that. Give me Randall Cobb. I mean, Aaron Rodgers seems to be feeling himself. He's throwing to Randall Cobb plenty. I mean, Randall Cobb's not getting thrown to unless it's basically an easy kind of gimme pass anyway. So I think he's going to get a few more of those before the season goes. So if you're looking for upside flex play, I like Cobb a lot. So IDP Army Fantasy Football fam, y'all, I appreciate you a lot. It has been a good show. I liked all the people being in the chat. Give us a thumbs up. Like I said, before you go, give us a subscribe to the channel. Make sure you go check out the Underdogs. Check out the link to play on Underdog. We will have a show coming out on Wednesday. Join me in a draft. Click the link. I'm probably going to hop in one right now. So I will see you in a day or two for the IDP ranking show. I will see you on the podcast stream with the OP. I'll see you on the podcast feed for the Dynasty Tailgate. We're growing. We're moving. We're shaking. IDP Army, you know what it is. So till next time.
Can feel it, thunder in paradise. Can feel it, thunder in paradise. Can feel it, thunder in paradise. Can feel it.
Let the rain hit the sand. Build a house on a rock, got a plan. Gotta get stocks, keep them bands. Hear the clock tick, blades on the fan. Used to be mundane on a Monday. Now you have fun day on a Sunday. Cause you switching it up and you living it up. You ain't getting enough.